Good morning, good afternoon, and evening, baseball fans, and welcome back to the Barstool Baseball Power Rankings panel show. Brought to you by a slate of experts. As I say every week, these are the smartest guys I know in baseball. Boys, what's going on?
I know we're the smartest guys today. We're taping this early Sunday morning, Mother's Day. I think we're all pretty tired. So you're probably getting maybe a less intelligent version of all of us. I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking for myself.
I am not a morning person whatsoever. Not at all.
This pre-morning, or I would say the green screen part of the show has been the most enjoyable one we've had so far. This thing's been all over the place. To your point, though, it is Mother's Day. Out of respect to that, we got some obligations in the day to the moms in our lives. We're going to be good to them. And if you guys have an opportunity to listen to this and you guys enjoyed Mother's Day, you're very lucky. Shout out to moms everywhere. Moms are awesome. We also have another sponsor for the show. We're going to get to it later, but right now, just moms. And there's a general theme to this that we want to be good to fans. We want to be good to people. We hope this show, we want to put on a good, broad MLB show. And off the top, Klemmer said there's something that he's really passionate about that's specific to one team, but it's like a broader thing about baseball. Klemmer, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so yesterday the Mets were playing the Nationals in Washington. Third inning. They probably should never have started this game. It was pouring rain the entire time. They called the game. Whatever. No one can control weather. That's fine. The problem is you have a rain delay of 4 hours. The Nationals never communicated to the fans during that 4-hour stretch. They didn't communicate on social media. They didn't communicate to the people that sat through the rain delay for 4 hours. And then when they call the game, it's a suspended game because of Major League rules. They're suspending it today on Mother's Day. So imagine you have a ticket. And you go to, you're that kid that goes to one Major League game a year. You sit in the rain for 2 hours, for 2 innings, and sit in the rain for 4 hours after that. Now you can only come back to that one game. And then let's say you do that, you have to leave so they can play the second game. Most times when you have a suspended game, you get to go to both games, a doubleheader. The Nationals, nope. Not only do you have to then buy if you want to go to both games today, you got to buy 2 tickets. You have to move your car and then come back. So you have to pay parking twice. This is such a shitty money grab from an organization that is screwing over the fans. They put a bad product in the field. That was the worst team in the National League last year. That's just a fucking fact. And then they go out there and they treat these good people, these loyal fans, like dog shit. To make that ticket only available for one day on Mother's Day it's borderline cruel if you're talking about from a baseball fan perspective. Make people pay for parking twice that want to come to 2 games today. It's just asinine. I understand that you cannot control the weather, but you can communicate to fans better during rain delays, and you can treat the people that go to these games better. If you sit in the rain for 4 hours, you shouldn't only get a voucher for the next, or only be able to use it for one game. You should get fucking a voucher for any game you want for the entire year. You are a great fan. So if you're a Nationals fan and you went to that game, good on you. The Nationals organization, shame on you. That's a horrible way to treat people. That is awful, and you really need to do better.
You're correct. I agree with everything you just said, Klemmer. There is one quick fix to all of this. Retractable roofs in baseball stadiums all across America. That's the way to go. There needs to be a charity. For my charity shout-outs for my post-game videos, needs to be to start one. Retractable roofs across America for every baseball stadium.
It doesn't get to the root of the issue, though, which is the organization. You want to fuck the fan base when you make them move a car. That's where you got a lot of that stuff. I can think like if I'm in the ticket office and, maybe the way the weather lines up for the next 2 weeks, there has to be some, I like to find the other side of the coin here. I can't, if they're making you move your car, come on.
And if you read the press release they send out, it is so impersonal. Never once thank you for support, sorry for the inconvenience, nothing like that. It reads like a form letter, like if you were at a business and you got like basically a memo in your office. It's that impersonal. It's just, like I said, if the Nationals were good, this wouldn't excuse it, but you can be like, all right, I can see where they're coming from. Maybe they sold it out or something. I don't know. The Nationals are a dog shit team. Now, I've watched them the last couple of days. The players hustle like crazy. Those guys earn every win they get. Good on the players. But the organization is not putting a good product in the field, and to treat fans who still support that weak product is it's just mean and it's wrong. And I know that the owner just died, and they're kind of thinking about selling the team, and you have kind of that weird flux. You know what though? That's not an excuse. Treat people better.
I'm just gonna give a quick shout out here to Klemmer because he was mad about this yesterday. And there's one thing to be mad about something one day and then wake up early Sunday morning and just yell about parking. And he's still just mad about it. And I appreciate that fire from a man on Mother's Day morning. So I'm shout out,
Nobody better to deliver the
no one.
message. There's nobody better suited
Yeah.
to deliver that message. Klemmer, that passion, that's not an on-off switch. That's just fucking on.
Yeah, I get mad. You know why? Honestly, because when I was a little kid, my parents didn't have a ton of money. We'd go to one game a year, and if this was my game, I only got to see 2 innings. My parents weren't going to make
That's
the
a
trip
fair
back
point.
the next
That's a
Sunday.
good
That was it. I got 2 innings of a major league game for my entire year. I cherish those games. They meant so much to me. I said I didn't get to go a lot when I was a kid, so I just think of that 9-year-old, that 10-year-old kid in the stands who got 2 innings that year, and that's all he gets for the year. That sucks.
Yeah. All my friends, by the way, believed your legs were that skinny on the yak.
They're pretty skinny. Well, I will say that's not that far off. You've seen
It wasn't that,
Skinny
but
leg.
they all believe you need help with your legs.
I don't know. They've
Let's
gotten
get
me
to
this far.
Yep.
we got some great stuff to talk about this power rankings. We have a robust 1 through 9. And before we get to the 1 through 9, ideally as this is shaping up, when those playoffs roll around, or at least the trade deadline and the standings are starting to finalize, hopefully these shows are building those narratives and those stories. So when you can start to talk about these playoff matchups, like I have a very good idea of who these teams are and these identities that we're building. And the idea is that throughout the year, we should see different teams. And I'll get to it. There's some teams I'm still disappointed that they aren't in this mix and we're not talking about them. But if you earn that in the emergence of such, then once the playoff time comes around, hopefully we're like really adept with why these matchups are cool and what makes them cool. So let's get to it. The batting order this week, I believe, is me 1, Castellani 2, Klemmer 3, and Hubs in the challenging 4-8 spot. 4-8 to Hubs. Welcome back this week. We're going to have a great show. Let's put together great rankings. We ready, boys?
Let's do it, man.
Okay, number 1. You guys can't believe it. It's the Tampa Rays. Tampa Bay Rays. I'm going to keep getting killed by Tampa Bay fans on that. I know you guys got rid of a word in the name. It was the Devil Rays. It wasn't Bay. It's Tampa Bay Rays. That's just a joke. I'm fucking with you guys. You lost a 6-0 lead to the Yankees on Saturday with Shane McClanahan pitching. I want to get that out of the way. At time of recording, they've lost 2 games in a row. They still have a 5-6 game lead on the rest of baseball. They're still first in runs scored, first in runs allowed. Here, there is a problem, though. Okay, so we all agree the Rays should be first, right?
100%. Right now, yeah.
There's a problem where, like, it could not be next week, 2 weeks, at some point down the road. Drew Rasmussen, he heads to the 60-day IL. He's out for this season. Obviously, Jeffrey Springs emerged heavily last year, hot start this year. He's out for the season. Glass now, not back in the mix yet, but he's been now something's sore on his side. Taj Bradley, he looks okay. Can he fill in? I don't know. This is a weird situation where, like, is there going to be a situation where, like, it's the middle of July and we're like, dude, they're starting pitching. They're on their, like, how deep can it go? So
I would say they're one injury away from me kind of resetting how I feel about this. Because right now their ceiling is World Series. I was thinking about this yesterday, and he didn't pitch great yesterday, but if you lose a McClanahan long term, I don't know if you could survive this. I think right now, with the depth they have in their organization, as good as Springs and Rasmussen are, I know what the Rays are capable of. I think one more big pitching injury, and you're questioning the long term sustainability of this team, I think.
I'm officially concerned. So you have 3 starters now. I think Taj Bradley, I think he's fine. So I think he's good.
Yeah.
So you have McClanahan, you have Eflin, you have Bradley. You don't have a 4 or 5 right now. That's like a decent starter. This most recent injury, especially when you consider how good Rasmussen was in that last start, and then just to kind of lose him like that is crushing. And then I don't know. I would have the number 1, Carl, absolutely. But for the first time all season, my warning light's on.
even though they're still, 5-6 games, if we come back, it's probably not going to be next week, but there's that week coming where you're like, man, it caught up to the Rays. And for all the super conversations we have about him, these injuries suck. And Taj Bradley's going to be great. He's made 3 starts, right? So, like, now instead of a guy who could, like, comfortably slide in and maybe pitch a couple innings here and there, Like now, is he in a position where we want quality starts from you? And then what labor goes back to the bullpen where guys that are great in certain roles, do they have to have those roles expanded? So there's a lot of trickle down effect that can happen when you lose, 190 innings to the starting rotation multiple times in the same month. So still
Yeah,
like the Rays, but that's it. Oh.
Two quick things. One, still very scared of them, and obviously clearly number one. They went from a position of power a couple weeks ago of like, oh, we're gonna get Glasnow back at some point here and really bolster us, to now like we really need Tyler Glasnow to come back here and help us. So like that almost is like a different pressure on him when he returns here. When he returns here, two, their hitting hasn't taken a hit at all, and they haven't taken a step back. And they had that lineup, like going through it the last 2 weeks as a Yankee fan, it has it almost makes no sense how good they are. But there are no like breathers in that lineup, like at all. Even when you get to like a Bethencourt or whatever, but they Wander Franco, Rosarena, Diaz, Brandon Lau, Josh Lau is ridiculous. They keep for whatever reason pinch hitting him, like taking him out of the game in late spots, and I'm like, thank you. Why did you do that? He has 1,000 OPS, but their lineup hasn't taken a hit. But I will say, yeah, I'm my blinder. I'm on to them right now with their injuries right now. So if they don't get Glasnow back here in like a month or two, I don't know what situation this pitching staff goes into.
I think with the offense they have, they can weather this storm throughout the regular season. Come postseason time, they're going to have to bolster depth in their rotation. I think the deadline is going to be huge for them.
Yeah,
we know how
way
deep,
more than it was a week ago.
Yeah, we know how deep their system is. They have assets that they can unload to get somebody back who's really good. But yeah, I mean, there's going to be multiple starting pitchers. If there's ever a year where they go all out to acquire somebody, it's got to be this year.
Yeah, and tough too, that division. So who's up?
Oh,
You're up. Wild Thing.
Yep. All right, number 2 team. Actually, a little bit closer because there's one team that's playing insanely well right now. But I am still, even though as of the time of this recording they've lost 2 games in a row, I'm going with the Atlanta Braves. I think that they are a well-oiled machine at this point. I think that division, which we came into believing would be one of the closest races in baseball, I'm questioning that. I think that they're on the verge of kind of running away with this thing. They're a young team. They have a great core, championship mentality, fun team to watch. And I feel like they've done a lot of this against some pretty solid competition. I feel like they've played a relatively tough schedule of points. They've lost 2 at Rogers Center, close games. So, yeah, I'm going with them in my number 2 spot. I think, that might not be the most popular, but I just, given their experience, I kind of give the nod to a team like that than a team that may be on the up and up.
My question would be, is Ronald Acuna everyone's NL MVP at the current moment?
Golly.
I believe he would be mine.
I mean, his numbers are better than Max Muncy's. Max Muncy's probably been more valuable to the Dodgers this year.
That's fair. Yeah, Acuna, I mean, he's got comeback player of the year locked up, I would say. But, yeah, considering he's fully 100% healthy and back to the player he was in 2019, which is the scariest thing for anyone, any Braves opponent to hear.
And good for baseball because that man is very fun to watch play the game.
He's awesome.
Hey, Max Fried to the IL. That's kind of serious. Kyle Wright is
second time already. Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle Wright. It sounds like Max Fried's out for a while. And Kyle Wright is... Now, anybody can say this. You can't pitch hurt. But Kyle Wright, he's been banged up. That wing is... And he's such a finesse touch, throws 6-7 different pitches. Everything's all quality in the zone. Should have questions about the pitching staff.
They kind of fall into the same Rays issue, right? Like,
yeah.
What's this rotation look like moving forward here?
No, like my check engine light is on for the Braves right now. So they have the same kind of thing we just talked about with the Rays. You got Strider, you got Elder, you got Morton. Great. Those guys are all really good pitchers. Then what? They don't have a 4th or 5th starter. I actually would have the Dodgers at my number 2, but it's fine. I had Brave 3, but I have a hard time with this team. And the other thing too is Michael Harris, the second, is not playing very well. He's missed some of the year because he's been hurt. They have him batting 8th in that lineup. He's not hitting very well. There's some, I don't know. There's a little bit. I'm starting to see some cracks in the facade with these guys. I'm getting like I said, that check engine light's on for me with the Braves. Having said that, the Braves are by far and away the best team in the NL East. my Mets have been playing like dog shit. The Phillies have been around 500. So, but the Braves, for the first time, just like the Rays, my eyebrows up a little bit.
Hey, Austin Riley, league average since he got his big contract in August. Michael Harris, below average since he got his big contract. I know this is really bad conjecture, and if you're a Braves fan, you're pulling your hair out saying, "Carl, shut the fuck up." But it's a fair point to make in pro sports about paying young guys early, and then you see the production's not, And I hate the idea of taking away league minimum years because that's when guys play their hardest.
Right.
I don't know.
I'll say it's fun that the top 2 teams we've listed on these power rankings, we've immediately given issues to. That's fun for the whole league. That means
For sure,
parity.
more parity. And I'm with you about that, Carl. And I think that, I mean, I don't know if the Braves started it, but they've definitely kind of spearheaded this whole thing of let's give our young players, extensions after 1 or 2 good years. I think in principle, that's a really neat idea, but some teams are going to get badly burned by this because we're getting to a point. I mean, what Luis Robert got an extension before he played a major league game. We're going to be giving guys extensions when they're fucking fetuses pretty soon. Like we're waiting until these guys are young players. We don't know, and some of these guys haven't even grown into their bodies yet. I think it'll be fine with the Braves, but eventually there's going to be a contract where they're going to give somebody like an 8-year extension.
There's been one. John Singleton on the Astros. They gave him all that money, and he
oh my God, John! I completely forgot.
The first time I remember it happening, it was the first time I remember anyone getting this contract so young was Evan Longoria with the Rays. That's the first time I remember someone getting that. I'm like, holy shit, this guy hasn't played a major league game yet.
And that one worked.
It did. I think most of them do work. I think it's not like Corbin Carroll with the Diamondbacks we just saw. That's so far looking great. Michael Harris, he's been hurt. I don't think it's a thing. I don't think it's an effort thing with him. I think
he's fucking good. I know he's very good. This is using bad numbers this is tying us big story and bad numbers together just to make a broader point. I do not believe in Michael Harris is a phenomenal generational talent. Clear. But
to your point though, if these injuries are long lasting, then that's going to affect what you get from him throughout the length of that contract. So it's definitely a risky play by the Braves to do that. I understand they're trying to keep those salaries down. It's the only way a team like that maybe can make it work from a market perspective. But yeah, there's risk involved for sure, Castellani. I agree.
Yeah.
And it's still a fair point, it's still a fair pick. Braves at 2. I know, Klemmer, you brought him up if you want to talk about him at 3 now.
Yeah, I obviously have the Dodgers at 3. I had them at 2, but that's fine. I mean, the Dodgers, honestly, you can make a case for number 1. Just because, like I said, when I do these rankings, I do them on 2 categories. Which team would I want my Mets to play the least? And then also, which team do I think has the best chance of making the World Series? And especially that latter point, I think right now, with the current rosters they have, I think the Dodgers are best suited for the long term, just because they haven't had the pitching injuries the Braves and the Rays have had. And they're also just like clicking into gear right now. That team is starting to really, the last 3 weeks we've seen it, right? They're just clicking on all cylinders. Obviously you got guys like James Outman he's slugging 561. And Mookie Betts hasn't really, I mean, he's having a very good year, but he hasn't hit that great level yet. He's going to. Right. So I think the Dodgers, once again, as it's been for the last, 7 years, the Dodgers are awesome.
One signing in the offseason that I would say got overlooked that annoyed me how little he was getting paid and how little fanfare he got on the free agent market. JD Martinez is one of the best hitters of this generation. And he went $10 million for 1 year to LA. He did. I think he admitted that he took less money to go there. He's mashing for them. I am stunned he wasn't a bigger name on the free agent market last year. That guy's terrifying to me, and it only adds to that lineup, being what it is.
Tony Gonsolin's back.
Yep. Kershaw looks great again.
Yeah, Kershaw's thrown almost 50 innings in 8 starts. So if there's any sense of he's slowing down or whatever, now he may be doing this out of the gate to say I'll take a workload early and then start to slow myself down while other guys. So now Tony comes back and other guys get going. Syndergaard's made 7. He'll make his 8th start. He still is not throwing the ball well at all. So it's not to say he's terrible, but there is a regression to the mean. So if he gets a couple good starts. Last thing, Padres have lost 11 straight series to the Dodgers. Lost 11 straight. They're 19-21, and it's got to be defeating when you gear up that much. And here come the Dodgers, and it's mid-May, and they're just getting cooking. And I want to shout out to Max Muncy's been tremendous. We talked about him before on the show.
One last thing, Carl, on Clayton Kershaw. The last time that he made 29 starts or more in a season, 2015.
15, yeah.
So the idea that he's going to make all of his starts this year, like that's just
No.
not going to happen, right? We all
No, but
know that.
Yeah, but I like it if he says I have 24 starts to make this year, and they say, all right, give us 16 out of the gate, and then we'll start to slow you down. Will Smith is a catcher who doesn't get any love or talk about. We talk a lot about JT Adley, but good Louisville kid. Good
Will
Louisville
Smith's
kid.
having a huge year. He's so underrated. Like he is knocking the shit out of the ball. There's so many good catchers now, young catchers.
Yeah.
I know Will Smith's not like super young, but he's 28. But like this, I feel like we're getting this catching renaissance this season that we haven't had in the last couple of years.
Hey, speaking of catching renaissance, who's I think is our fourth team? Are we fair? Is it fair to?
Oh yeah, I know where you're going. I have them at 4.
It's the Texas Rangers.
Okay.
Coming right in and just taking that
You
from
are
you. It's
such
my
a
hey.
heel.
I'm
No.
in the cleanup. It's my world.
Yep.
I'm the cleanup hitter. It's the Texas Rangers. These guys lost a series. They got swept, I believe, by the Cincinnati Reds in the late April. And that was, to me, like, you know what? This hot start they had, not real. You can't get swept by the Reds. Guess what? Haven't lost a series since. Lost Jacob deGrom. Guess what happens? Nathan Eovaldi is out of my life temporarily as a Yankee fan here. Thought I was done with him. Not destroyed us. Complete game shutout. He has last 3 outings, 25 2/3, 11 hits, 0 runs, 25 strikeouts. He has been unbelievable. Jonah Heim has been awesome. This whole team is just not really stepping off the gas, and I'm impressed. And it's kind of showing. Now, the Mets tried to do this where they tried to buy everyone, right? Hasn't worked. All fell apart. Klemmer's in shambles. The Rangers did it, and hey, look at us. You can just pay money for a lot of people, and it works. They are rolling. I'm very impressed by this team.
I'm with you completely. And one, I had them just below the team that will probably come next. But you got to give a shout out. The most dominant pitcher in baseball over the last 2 weeks, Nathan Eovaldi, is like unconscious right now. He's I think 3 consecutive scoreless outings. That team, for a team that they haven't made the playoffs, I believe it was 2015, the Batista game, the last time that they made the postseason. I think it was. They play like a team that comes across like they've had experience with this before. They do have a lot of veterans, a lot of guys who've made deep runs in the postseason. They don't get rattled. They're taking care of business, and their pitching staff has been really good. I mean, even with deGrom out, Eovaldi's been really solid. John Gray's had back-to-back really good outings. We know how good that lineup is. They're a dangerous team. Yeah,
and
they've got 5 prospects in the top 100 too. So I think some of these signings, when they went and got Seager and Semien, were early, and some people said, hey, this is a little bit ahead of schedule, so they can go and put their leadership or whatever, put their spin on it. And then adding deGrom this offseason. Hey, Young, and we brought him up, Lowe, or Jonah Heim. And Nathaniel Lowe's been phenomenal defensively at first base, I should say. But Jonah Heim, when you get that like complete banana land production behind the plate or from a different position. We talked with Matt Chapman where like he's a defensive first third baseman, and when you get all that offense from him, it's gravy. When you have such like an elite, when the elite tool shows up for you, so just they have that across the field where they get tremendous production from places where I think the rest of the league, traditionally struggles to get protection from, catcher. Like how about their third baseman, Young, the fucking young big kid.
Yeah,
Corey Seager's coming back. He looks great. He doubled the other day in Double-A, and he was round the bases, standing next to the minor league kids. It's like he looks like a centaur.
I wanted to bring up
that's almost even more crazy. Is like they've gone on this run without him.
Yeah,
I want to bring up one thing on the Rangers. They DFA'd Ian Kennedy this week. Ian Kennedy, I believe, is the last active player from Hub's Yankees World Series team, which tells you how long ago the Yankees won the World Series. It's been many, or even been to
well, the Mets don't do anything, so you're right.
Yeah, they haven't been to the World Series, and Ian Kennedy just said 1,000 years old. But Ian Kennedy, of course, had that great year of the Diamondbacks when 21.
Yeah, 2011.
Had a nice career, 104 wins, 415 ERA.
How many teams did he pitch for?
I can tell you.
Royals.
He pitched for a
9.
ton.
6 teams.
16.
But some of them he kind of went back.
That's
forth,
underwhelming.
Right? He had a couple stints with the Diamondbacks. But just like a solid career. I like guys like that who kind of play forever, have decent careers. I'm always kind of intrigued by those careers almost more than the great ones sometimes. I just like seeing the trends and how they work, and Ian Kennedy's a great example of that.
Yeah, he was supposed to be our
Marcus
savior and wasn't.
Simeon's on pace for almost a 9-WAR season and
Jeez.
125 runs scored.
Crazy.
So we've talked about this. If you can't shift on him, and he's one of the most shifted righties. So it's sad when you see the second baseman is standing as close as he can to be by the shortstop, and it doesn't matter. He just hits piss missiles all over the place.
You got to give Chris Young a lot of credit. That was kind of a mess there for a second. They've done a really good job of building that thing up quickly. They've developed a good farm system. They're on the up and up, even with the team they have now.
You know what is a little crazy? One last point on them. Jack Leiter kind of is like struggling in the minors.
Really?
And you mentioned Carl, like their top prospects there. And I guess he still is one of them, right? I assume he's still ranked in the top 100. But he hasn't really shown anything, and they're still I don't know. When they drafted him, I kind of dubbed him as like their savior in a way.
Yeah.
He'll just like whenever you're ready, pal, do your thing, cook down there, and we'll bring you
I mean, it's hard because it's like these minor league numbers. If you look, like they matter. It definitely matters. He's in Double-A again. You don't want to see him repeating Double-A, but 31 innings, 44 strikeouts. You know, the year before, 92 innings, 109 strikeouts.
Walks are an issue.
You know, you'd have, I mean, sure, you don't want to see him walking guys, but it is such a like he's one fix away. He's one light bulb click away. This stuff's nasty, and if it's not him, Owen White's 56. He's in the mix. They've got another guy in the mix. I think it's just encouraging that the Rangers are not a doormat to the Houston Astros at this point. They're this late in the season.
No, definitely not.
You know, that they look fucking great. And like we said, when Corey Seager comes back, you're not talking about getting that's like a Hall of Fame caliber shortstop coming back to hit in the middle of the lineup. So, they have another gear to get to.
Yeah, no, I'm with you completely. And with the Astros treading water at this point, I think they'll be fine. There's an opportunity here for the Rangers, in the summer to grow like a 6-7 game lead here and make this thing really interesting with the way they're playing.
I like that.
They haven't played head to head though. Oh, they have once. They won one series. Okay.
Yeah.
So they got plenty of games to play though still.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right, I'll go fifth. And this pick is they have the second best record in baseball, and people are going to be mad. But the reason they have the second best record in baseball is because they've got the best catcher in baseball. And when it comes to catchers in baseball, nobody's better than Yogi Berra. We talked about Yogi Berra last week because the movie It Ain't Over movie's coming out, and they're our first partner. And the It Ain't Over movie is basically like the behind the scenes story of Yogi Berra, is like what makes the legend the legend. And Klemmer, you jumped out of your chair last week because you're like, hey, full send, greatest catcher of all time.
Yeah.
This is coming out before the dog walk, but I'll spoil a draft pick. I had a chance to talk about Yogi Berra extensively on the dog walk on Monday. And it's just like, I really hope people go see this movie, so much so I think we're going to go see it together. We should pick a movie time and have people come see it with us.
Absolutely. I'm all in.
That'd be a lot of fun. Yeah.
You guys will be in New York next week, maybe. So
I leave next Sunday. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. Let's pick a time. It's good. With Yogi Berra, I'm all in. I said he's the greatest catcher ever, 3-time MVP, war hero, has a managerial career, went to the World Series, a manager twice. Like, this guy did everything in baseball, did it for a long time, and we saw the trailer, and you can see some of the luminaries that are talking about him. Like, it's a who's who of like people. Bob Costas, Ron Guidry's in there. It's a really cool list of people talking about Yogi Berra. I'm really excited to see this documentary. I'm a huge Yogi Berra fan, always have been. This is right up my alley.
He's one of the greatest Americans to ever live.
Yes.
Yeah. One thing that came up in the last week was you said American hero. Now this is glossed over because he was in Double-A with the Yankees in 1941 when he left and joined the service. He ultimately landed on D-Day. Like he was in a gunner boat or something, and the boat next to him blew up. And
yeah, he wasn't getting
like he was a World War II combat veteran while a Yankee minor leaguer fighting his way through Europe and then coming back. So when we talk about like, oh yeah, he won 11 of 13 championships, he did all this stuff. Before he did any of that shit, he's fucking storming the beaches of Normandy on D-Day.
Baseball probably became really easy for him after that. I feel
You'd think so, right? Like, don't worry, bases are loaded. That's not a German machine gun. That's just a fucking weak relief pitcher. Take his ass off the fucking fence, buddy.
Right. Yeah. Also, like easy. Like have a bad day at the park. Easy to get over. Hey,
could have been much worse.
We're not at war.
Worse. Yeah.
Here's a great quote. I'd be pretty dumb if I started being something I'm not.
Good way to put it.
The quotes and like just that energy and that positivity, you know, and all the baseball that guy saw, the height, the championships, and at the end of the day, he would say, and he meant it, like, it's upstairs, it's in between your ears. Like, if you want to be great, you want to be awesome, you want to enjoy yourself, you want to make the most out of this life, like, worry about what's in between your ears. Very, very powerful stuff. So we're gonna go see that movie together. We'll put together some informal shit on like how you can what that day is, what time it is, and if there's 5 people that come with us, great. If there's 10, awesome. If nobody shows up other than us, perfect. Whatever. We'll go see the movie. We're going to report back on it. And like the fact that Yogi Bear is basically our first partner on the show. I mean, I'd like, give me a moment while I cry. Thank you.
Yeah, not bad. Not a bad place to start.
By the way, Yogi Berra, the only manager to take the Yankees and the Mets to the World Series. How about that?
Oh, really?
Hard to do because the Mets never get there. So
well, when's the last time the Yankees got there, Hubs? Ian Kennedy just fucking retired. He's 1,000 years old.
When's the last time you won anything
Well,
in your
no,
life?
you haven't even gotten there. So just shut up and enjoy sitting here and the conversation we're having.
Yeah. Hey, how about this conversation with the 5th overall spot? Let's stay in the AL East. Let's take the greatest young catcher. Now let's take Adley Rutschman. Let's take the Baltimore Orioles. They have the second best record in baseball. There's tons of holes on this team. There's tons of holes on this team if you want to play that game. I don't. You can sit here and talk about their starting pitching in a 7-game series and how it holds up. Here's the reality. The pitching's going to hold up fine if they can give the ball to Yanir Cano. Did I say that name right? Jeez Louise. Castellani, what's the scouting report on this dude?
Pray to God he leaves something over the plate. Because there's him and Felix Bautista. There's really no approach. I mean, your whole thing is, I mean, they throw hard, sit heater, maybe, and then you're going to get something nasty like that's going to die once it gets to the plate. Like they've done a really good job of shortening games, and which is an advantage. One, because their rotation has not been awful, but it's not up to snuff with some of the other teams that we've talked about. And they're going to make a move at the deadline, man. And
you think? Actually think they will?
For a starter, yeah. It might not be the all out like we're going to give you our top prospects, but like we've talked about it before, I think Giolito makes a ton of sense.
He does.
He's
You're going a park that is now, and I talked to RDT about this, with the dimensions change, now more of a pitcher's park.
100%.
Giolito has a lot of experience. He's been in pennant chases before, and it's a rental. So you're not gonna dish out. I know he's no longer a prospect, but you're not gonna dish out your Gunnar Hendersons, your Adley Rutschmans of the world to get a Giolito. You would have to do that for a Cease. And with the way he's pitched this year, maybe even somebody like an Erod, but I think they make their move just to bolster the rotation a little bit. What I like about them right now, they might be the most fun team in baseball. Yeah. It just seems like when you show Camden Yards, shout out RDT, he was on the broadcast the other night. I saw that. It just seems like that fan base is so connected. They've been when they were bad, they were bad. They were worse than my Tigers. 115 losses 5 years ago. It seems like people are back at the ballpark. They have a franchise player. They have a manager that they love. And they have completely bought into that system. It's really fun to see that in baseball. There's almost like a 2006 Tigers type of vibe to them, where it's like they have waited so long to get back here. They're just enjoying the ride. It's awesome.
They have an offense that if they go down 4-0 early, they don't bat an eye. They just look at each other like, who's going to do it? Who's going to tie this game for us? Because that's just how talented and deep that lineup is. Yeah, pitching, they have problems for sure. No question about it. And yeah, any postseason matchup realistically with them, you're going to feel like you have the upper hand. But that offense is scary and it's not going anywhere, and they're just going to get better.
I have one small issue here. Where are we with Gunnar Henderson right now? He's batting 175. Now he's walking a ton, 25 walks, 103 at bats. I mean, that's crazy. So he's getting on base, but he's having a really hard time making contact, and I'm officially concerned.
Would you flip?
The OBP is higher than the slugging. The OBP is higher than the slugging.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Considering the depth in that lineup, and I know when he was a prospect, I wouldn't have traded him, but considering the depth in the lineup, would you do a him for Giolito 1-for-1?
No, I wouldn't do that. Probably
fuck no.
No,
I don't even know if I do 1-for-1 for him and Dylan Cease. And here's why. Because he can't hit, and he's got a 341 OBP. Like that's elite. That's amazing. That's something to work with right there, you know. And he's so young, 22 years old.
He did
You
bat
know,
297 in the minor leagues last year in a full season, so he can hit. He can get the bat on the ball.
Oh yeah.
We
he's
know
a
that.
tremendous player.
He had a better contact with his cup of coffee last year. I don't know. Anytime I see that batting average go in the ones, I'm like, oh, everyone is like, oh shit, and especially when it's a top level guy like him, who I know can be better. It might just be he needs some reps with the hitting coach. Something's going on there, but for a team that's the 5th best in baseball, that's not great.
Yeah. And
Okay, here's where I'm going to.
How long can you tolerate it? Sorry, how long
Right.
can you tolerate it?
Exactly.
Because it's like, yeah, you are 26-13, you are rolling, but if that's a problem now and it's not going to get fixed, and you're working hard to fix the pitching, and like if you can't just fix a couple problems and let Gunnar Henderson continue to hit I would be optimistic, and I would continue to be optimistic, and that's just going back to the walk rate because it's showing something. He's got enough there to manage those at bats.
I got one more optimistic thing. One real quick thing.
Yeah.
In the past week, he has put 8 balls in play over 100 miles an hour.
Okay.
He is about to break out of this.
Okay.
I promise you, he is the average. The numbers might be weird and wonky. He is about to break out of this.
The talent's there. We know that. It's just a matter of him just kind of figuring it out.
Yep.
Yeah, and great name, Gunnar. Sounds like
Great baseball name.
Like a
Can't be bad with that name.
Is it one of the bad guys from Mighty Ducks 2 is Gunnar?
It's a
I
great
think that's
name.
what his parents named him after. I think.
Is that his actual name?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean,
that is badass. Yeah, I thought it was short.
Yeah, it's not ER. ER is the nickname. 6, Castellani.
I'm going with a team that I think when we recorded the show with me, you, and White Sox Dave Carl, I think I said that this team is a frustrating good, which they have a tendency to be. But the last few days, we've seen a glimpse of the caliber of team we know this can be, and that's the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah.
We know how good the lineup is, but they'll have these lapses where they'll drop a series against a bad team, or they had that they had that game against Philadelphia that they had won, and they ended up getting walked off, and Bichette made an error. But you come back home. You have a 3-game set against the Braves, and as of the time of this recording, they've won 2 out of 3 against a really good Braves team. And what is most appealing right now is that the issue that plagued them early in the season, which was their starting rotation, is starting to come around again. Gosman's going to be fine. He's had 2 bizarrely horrible starts, but besides that, he's been dominant. Bassett's looked really good the last few starts, just threw a complete game shutout. I did really like that signing, and I'm not surprised to see him turning it around. And then you could get somebody at the deadline. Manoah, I think ultimately in the long run will be fine. It's a top heavy team, but their top 5 is about as good as anybody's top 5. They're playing really well. I think that we're overlooking them to a certain extent because of how good the rest of the division has been. But this is a team that with the right, under the right circumstances can be a team that can make a World Series run.
Yeah, no argument here. I mean, the Chris Bassett shutout told us a lot. I know that first start, it's like, oh, can he handle the pitch clock? Obviously he can. Sometimes this guy's just rusty out of the gate. Blue Jays have been really competitive now for a while. I completely agree, Chris. This is exactly where I had them as well. The Blue Jays are very good. Bo Bichette, we talked about him a little bit last week. All the guy does is lead the league in hits every single year. And my only concern, I guess my biggest concern rather, would be Manoah. You need that big ace, I think, to go into the playoffs. He hasn't pitched like that so far, but there's plenty of time to turn it around.
Yeah, this is one of those teams where what we see right now is not the team that will be going into the playoffs. There is going to be a big addition. There's going to be that big trade. The Blue Jays have done that time and again. I don't think they're afraid to make moves. So the fact that they're this hot, but they can be better, and they will try to be better. They're going to try and add and grow and everything. But I love the point. We talked about Barrios before. I mean, to say what you want on his peripherals, he's still 4.5 ERA around. And Manoah, Gossman can give you 2 amazing starts in a playoff series, right?
Oh
Yeah.
So they really just need one other guy to give you 1. Ugh.
Right. I had him at 6 as well. Well positioned, and you can't move him anywhere more down. I will say Alek Manoah's slider is statistically the worst pitch in baseball this year. And he has shown me nothing that he's getting out of this. Nothing. So I stand by what I said earlier this year. Gosman's unbelievable, but Alek Manoah has shown me 0 that he is improving and getting around this pitch clock. Just saying. That is a concern.
Bad strikeout rate, worse walk rate.
Not good. Not a good combination, Carl.
Also, this is, and I've talked about this with closers before. I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to not trust Jordan Romano in big moments.
Oh, zero.
Had a blow up in the playoffs last year. Like, he is right now, he's a prime example of that closer who's you're gonna look at the end of the year and be like, hey, he had a good year. He was 35 for 40 in saves, like ERA under 3. But then those ones that he blows are those one-run games against good teams. Like I worry about that with him in high leverage situations.
He kind of had the untouchable tag around him until Aaron Judge walked him off last year, and then kind of since that moment, he had he can bleed. He is this guy can be hit, and then since then, it happens a little bit more often than you think when you look at his overall numbers.
Yeah,
here's why I cheer for Jordan Romano. I mean, he's a born-bred, blue-blooded Canadian. And I like when Canadians play for the Blue Jays. And the fact that he's the guy you got to go through at the end. Oh, sure. Probably a great Maple Leafs fan. He cares, man. And if you just look at his baseball reference page, if you haven't seen the headshot of Jordan Romano before, you're gonna look at him and be like, that guy, that's a fucking tire salesman from Calgary.
Yeah.
I'm serious. It's a great pick. I don't think anybody would be surprised to see the Blue Jays win a pennant and get rolling all that stuff. Like, we do think they can be a better team. They're here 6. Who's 7? Klemmer?
It's me. Okay, huge drop off from 6 to 7. The first 6, I think, are in a league kind of in their own, and now we kind of get the best of the rest.
Yeah.
Like I said, when I do these, I do it based on likelihood of winning the World Series or getting there or just making a deep playoff run. And for that reason, I'm taking the Twins here. I don't think the Twins are the 7th best team based on talent, but they have a 3.5 game lead in the Central. They have what would be right now the American League Cy Young Award winner in Sonny Gray. The guy has an ERA of 1.39, which is insane. And by the way, guys, this is when I stopped saying the season's early. I know everyone's like, oh, before Memorial Day, we are past the 25% mark. We got a quarter in our pocket. Like this, we're 40 games in. This isn't a fluke anymore. So
we're halfway to being able to carry all-star designations for the rest of players' careers.
Yeah.
After 80 games, then someone's an all-star, and then for the rest of their fucking life, you get to walk around and be like, remember they were an all-star that one year?
Point.
And we're halfway to that point. So
good point. Yeah. Good point.
Now, the Twins did just lose Tyler O'Malley. He's going to have Tommy John surgery. It looks like he's going to be out even for Summit next year. So the other problem with the Twins that I'm talking about picking them, and I'm saying all the things I don't like about them. They're 12th in on-base percentage, 301. Carlos Correa looks awful. So there's definitely some problems with this team. But in a American League Central, it's been pretty disappointing so far. It's been pretty disappointing now, I think, for almost a decade. The Twins are the best of that group. So I think they need a little bit of a hat tip here because that's a team that could, I think, make the playoffs. And if that offense can get clicking, then they become even more dangerous in a very weak division.
What is going on with Carlos Correa, though, man? Like, I know he's, like, kind of shown some luck, but, like, what the hell? What's going on?
It's bad. Yeah. We're at the 40-game mark. He's batting 200 with a 276 on base.
I like that he's accountable. He does admit that he's been dog shit.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, and there's something to that, and that is he is the leader of that team, so, like, that's good on him. But you got to figure this out.
How much of this do you think is the ankle? Like, do you think that's
zero?
You see, when I watch him play, I'm saying like he's behind on pitches. Like,
a lot of it could be this offseason he's been through is just like crazy, man. And he's this is a guy who's just probably been exhausted from all these contract negotiations, and who knows how prepared he was for the season. To be honest,
yeah,
that's fair.
Now he's had weak seasons before. In 2018, he had an OPS plus of 99. In 2020, obviously it's COVID year, I know he had an OPS plus of 93. So 86 with 75% of the season left, he could still pull it around. Is he going to win the MVP this year? No, but he has had some off seasons before. I'm just throwing that out there.
He has a tendency to play really well when the lights get bright too. And so, I mean, if this team, he's got a lot of playoff experience. If this team's making a run, trying to clinch up that division, I could see him getting hot.
Here's my trepidation with the Twins. If you look at their numbers, their 1 through 4 have been extremely valuable this year. Obviously, Joe Ryan, Sonny Gray, Pablo Lopez. Bailey Ober is the 6'10" monster who's extremely difficult to hit. Gives you a little taste of like Chris Young back in the day. Big question mark though is when you see Joey Gallo has been their most valuable position player, and it's nothing against Joey Gallo because he's a fine piece to the right mix. But if he's your most valuable player through 6 weeks, a quarter of the season, you know,
too bad the Yankees can't get.
Do you
guys
regret?
Like
Do you think they regret their trade with the Marlins? Like, do you think they need?
Oh, I know. See, it is interesting, but like, I just
think
would.
they need
Yeah.
Do you think they need a raise?
He's so valuable.
Like,
Dude,
and you look at what they're getting from their other pitchers. Like, was that
yeah, like right. Like, did you really need Lopez? Like, does Lopez put you that much over top where a rise can just help your whole lineup and just like destroy an opposing pitcher by just like fouling 9 pitches off every at bat?
Okay, so I'll say this:
yeah,
Arise defense isn't the best. So is that why the pitchers are so much better this year? Because you don't have to deal with him in playing defense anymore. That's a bit of a reach. I think Arise is the best contact hitter in baseball. Would they want to do over in this trade? I don't know. Pablo Lopez has been really solid for them. And you think about it, too. When you have a good starter, it doesn't just help out that game. Now it helps out the bullpen for the other 4 games. It has a trickle-down effect. And Lopez can go deep into games. I don't know. I hate to say this, but I think it's a trade that worked out great for both teams.
Lopez gives you a name in the postseason. You line him up, and you're like, okay, we can win this game. Like, absolutely, I feel good about this, and I feel like that is a pretty good trade when you can all. But man, Arise is something else.
He is.
You just don't want to trade him,
right? Like, again, when you look
crazy.
at their 4 best players are their starting pitchers. You know, through this, I shouldn't say when I say their best, they're most valuable through this point of the season. So it's like, did you really need to add a 4th guy to that name when clearly your most valuable position player? You know, I don't know what that trade is. We'll see how it plays out. It's a great storyline with the Twins.
Yeah.
And I think White Sox Dave said it very well on Friday. That's like, you know, he didn't have the numbers. He didn't do the homework. He didn't have the data. He just takes a look and just says, the Twins stink. They're in the 2nd level. They're not good enough to be a team that we take seriously. So that's a good take. Who's 8?
I believe that's me.
Yeah.
No?
Oh, wait, no. I think it's back to me because I was wait, what the fuck am I doing?
I hit cleanup. It's gotta be me. No?
What the fuck am I doing? My bad.
Hey, batting out of order.
I know, right?
It's me, right?
It is you. Yeah.
Okay. So I had a plan, and then Klemmer went and took the Twins with his rationale. So I'm going to be that guy, Carl.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the Yankees at 8.
Oh, come on.
I had him at 7.
I have him at 9.
So.
Okay, so this isn't crazy at all.
No.
I mean, no, after Aaron Judge's performance on Saturday.
Yeah, that one yesterday.
This is where we're at too. Is we're recording before the slate of games on Sunday. So like, if the Yankees go out and get their fucking tits blown off today, I don't care. I was just giving you a side eye. Respectfully, I think this is a great spot for the Yankees.
Okay.
Them coming back against McClanahan down 6-0 is so much more than just one game. That's a fucking moment. That's a team.
So they followed up the win of the year Friday, which was kind of a shit show because Michael King gave up runs that he doesn't give up and whatever. They followed that up with the win of they've had 2 win of the years in 1 week. That's pretty good. Even if they get the doors blown and Clark Schmidt's on the mound, then he hasn't been that great. His last 2 starts have been solid and a step in the right direction, but this is a Tampa Bay Rays, and they have lefties that can kill him. Like Josh Lowe can destroy him today, and he has not been good against lefties. So I will say you have at worst, this is a split against the Rays, and you swept the A's and you have the D. You don't even look at the stats in that series. You just had to do that. But they're trending slowly in the correct direction. That they're starting to mold into the team that they need to become in injuries. Not becoming, Harrison Bader coming back, very helpful. Aaron Judge doing what he did yesterday, very helpful. You got Severino probably back in the next 7 to 10 days, very helpful. Carlos Rodon maybe going to move out of the chair that he's been sitting in for the last 3 months, very helpful. That helps. It does. And Anthony Volpe doing what he did yesterday, excellent. DJ LeMahieu, I feel like gets slept on for being one of the better defenders in all of baseball.
He's been really good at third.
You put that guy. I mean, he won I think it was the first year they did it last year, the utility Gold Glove. Yep. He won that. But man, you put that guy anywhere, and he's awesome when he's healthy, and he's been healthy so far. That is a big plus for this team. I have the Yankees at 8. People will probably be like, "Oh, they don't deserve that. They played like dog shit." I feel like they're trending in the right direction, and it's nice to see.
Yeah, no, I had them at 7. They've played quite well lately, and as I've talked about it before with them, it's a matter of weathering the storm with the injuries they've had. Now, this Yankees team, I think, is in line with a lot of recent Yankees teams, which is, I think, at full health, with Sevy doing what he's capable of doing, with Giancarlo back, with Rodon back. I think this is a team that can compete for the American League. The problem is, how many times over the last 5 years have we said, well, when the Yankees get healthy,
Of course.
it seems like it never happens. But that one on Saturday was huge. I mean, like you said, not all wins and not all losses are created equal. Like that's one that can carry you for like a week. I mean, coming back against McClanahan there. So yeah, I don't really have any problem.
Another name that I didn't mention, Carl, your boy, Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah, I mean, Rizzo's sweet.
Great.
He doesn't give a fuck. He really doesn't. In New York's a good spot for him because I think the Chicago situation just got so much for him, where it got so deep and so big. The idea of like you can't walk down the street, can't go to the grocery store, can't hang out without just people all up in your shit. And so he has said, he's like, dude, if we're in New York, like I can go walk over to Prince Street Pizza, I can go sit in the park, we can take the dog Kevin out, like. No one is in your shit. No one cares as much as like, obviously it's probably different for, Derek Jeter or Judge, right? Like that's such a sweet spot to be in the fourth quarter of your career, I should say, deep into the second half of your career. And you can go out and be that guy on the field and be a big fuck you leader guy, but then still get away from it off the field. So it's a good balance for the Yankees. And Hubs, I know you're pulling at my heartstrings, but I am happy to see Anthony thrive and be in a situation because it's a player that just wins your love for his entire career.
Yeah, Judge is the captain, obviously, but I think Rizzo is the leader, if that makes any sense. Like when they lose, he gets angry. He gets pissed off in interviews, and I love that. He gets into people's faces, I feel like, in the clubhouse, and I love that.
Yeah, a perfect player to watch throughout his career, like to come 100%. Up and be like, dude, he's making his debut today. I remember where I was when he made his debut. I remember where we watched it, who got together for it.
Can we talk about this Yankees pitching staff for a second? It stinks.
There he is.
Yeah, my big problem is he brought up Carlos Rodon's name. I did not want to hear Carlos Rodon's name in any positive conversation.
Well, I didn't say it. Well, he's been on a chair for 3 months, so I don't.
Can we talk about Nestor Cortes? He stinks. He stinks.
Yesterday was the first time, right, in like the history of his career at Yankee Stadium, he gave up more than 3 runs in a start. What are we doing?
Wow.
Oh,
yeah. The thing with him is
don't matter.
he has no, his stuff doesn't blow you away. He's going to top out at 92, 93, maybe.
Crafty.
If his location isn't there, he gets destroyed. That's what happened yesterday. He was all over the place. He's really kind of had only 1 or 2 really good starts this year. It's concerning, no doubt. I hope he turns it around. They need Severino back in 7-10 days to kind of offset that because I think when you look at this full pitching staff healthy, he's probably your 4th best pitcher. Like Rodon is above him and Severino's above him when they're all healthy.
Back. Rodon's not walking through that door, Hubs. Forget about him. He's gone. He's gone.
Says the guy who has 2 40-year-old starting pitchers in his rotation.
But they're pitching.
What is Rodon? Rodon's doing the innings as I am.
Scherzer's barely pitching for you.
Okay,
guys.
Well, let's look at this pitching staff for a second. Cole and Herman. Cole's been great. Herman's good. Severino, he's got a good track.
I wouldn't even call Herman good, to be fair.
What's that?
I wouldn't call Domingo good. Like
he's fine.
He's fine. He's fine. He's fine.
What do you do after that? Just like with the Rays and Braves, they don't have a 4th and 5th starter, and the Yankees don't have the offense to offset that. This Yankees team is not particularly. I have them at 9. They belong in this list. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they are not a good team.
So you don't think Rodon comes back?
What's that?
You don't think Rodon comes back?
Until I see him pitch.
Rodon? This isn't a video game where like he's off and just plug him in and the fucking stats take off. Like
when he's healthy, he's pretty fucking good.
He is.
No,
he is. He's very.
Oh yeah, he's amazing.
He was awesome.
No, so I'm saying like I don't really have to worry when he's on the mound. I feel great about my chances. You just got to get him there. Okay, and if there's one, if I'm gonna spin, then we can move on to another team. Sorry, we're going long here, but if we can spin it with Rodon, what's his track record tell you when it gets late in the season? He runs out of gas, right? Won't have to worry about it this year.
I mean,
kind of going to be fresh this year.
It's a good spin. That's a good spin. Harrison Bader's been awesome since he's come back, so that's positive.
I love
Harrison Bader's.
It's weird how that trade is turning out to be a win for the Yankees.
Did you see the Pete Alonso aspect to his turnaround?
Good call, Castellani, because everybody sucked Jordan Montgomery's dick. No, He's still
That trade
fine.
made no sense at the time.
He's a fine pitcher. I interviewed him like 15 minutes before the trade.
Yeah, how about that, Carl?
That
Oh
was
my
fucking
God.
funny. Hey, Jake Bauers has looked pretty good too. Jake Bauers and Hubs, I want to give you credit because you called his name out early when I was talking to you about like, all right, so who's going to fill in for, Judge? This looks like it could be a huge disaster. Obviously, Judge came back. It didn't end up being. It didn't become the thing it could become. But you had brought up Jake Bauers, who's like a career
the problem
grinder.
with him is he's a first baseman playing the outfield, so you're going to have some moments like he's already had out there. So it's kind of a mystery. They believe they found something with the swing path that can change something here. So far, I've liked what he got a hit off McClanahan yesterday as a lefty. Good for him. So whatever he's doing is working.
Yankees 8. Fucking I knew that I was ready for it. 9, does anybody have any strong opinions about 9?
I do.
It can go a lot of places.
Yeah, so I have the Brewers here, and here's why.
That's fair.
They have a very good pitching staff, obviously. I know their offense is a little shaky, but they have a 1.5 game lead in the division. But the second place is the Pirates, who they're a fraud team. We all acknowledge that finally now. We can stop pretending they're good.
Good job. You're good. You're right for one time.
Thank you. So the Cubs are probably the next real challenger. They have a 3-game lead over the Cubs. So I think the Brewers, just from that standpoint alone, they're playing over 90-win baseball. If you fact, 564 winning percentage, they're good. I think they deserve to be on this list.
They are good. I don't like watching them though. I don't know what. I don't know what. I think their offense is really not fun to watch at all. I don't think that they do a good job with developing and maintaining hitters. Yelich is falling off a cliff. I'm with you. They probably belong on this list. I find their ceiling to be very low. I think that I'd be stunned if they make it farther than the NLDS.
That was very funny.
They're not a point of viewing.
But if they,
I don't like watching them.
But at what point, so they're 9th in the power rankings. Getting past the NLDS at this point, I think I would have been stunned if the Padres got past the NLDS last year. They did. So maybe this is a fair spot for them. It is disappointing.
Just don't like their lineup.
They have elite pitching across the staff at the front and the middle.
Yeah.
They've got elite, they've got elite mid rotation pitchers. And I'm not saying elite pitchers for the position, for the spots 3, 4, 5. They do a good job. Who talked about Freddie Peralta before? Right. Super underrated.
Yeah, I just think he's so underrated. And I will say, the Padres have more talent than the Brewers. 100%. But the Padres are 19-21. They don't have any business on this list. So I mean, you got to look. And my Mets, they're 19-20. You could argue they have more talent than the Brewers, but they certainly haven't shown it. They don't have any business being on this list.
How much longer until we question this core of the Padres? Because they are, I believe, 46-46 since they got Soto and Hader. They had that. If not for that 7-game stretch in the postseason last year where they played really well, we'd be talking about this whole thing being kind of a massive disappointment. I think they'll be fine, but it's we keep talking about that rivalry with the Dodgers. It's if you I don't know. It seems like every time they play, except for the NLDS last year, which obviously matters a ton, they kind of get their shit pumped.
Let me tell you this real quick. Went to Petco last week, Dodgers-Padres. Saw it in action. It was a miserable game. There was nothing happened in that game. I was with a group of friends. They didn't really particularly care about the game. So we were coming into the stadium in the 3rd inning. You can't tell who is scoring when you're outside the stadium and you hear the cheers. That's how many Dodger fans there are. You have no idea where the game is swinging based off crowd reaction. I've never been in a park where that happens. That was stunning.
I really like the fact that the Padres are not off to the races with this core yet. I think they can get there this season, but it's not easy. You can't just go give guys money and here's Bob Melvin, go ahead. Ha-Sung Kim was phenomenal for you guys in a reserve role at shortstop last year. Yeah. He earned the right to play. There's guys that are being moved around because of upgrades on paper. And now you have the upgrades on paper. I don't know why you spend all the money on Bogarts when you have Tatis coming back, when you've got production there. I had a lot of questions about why are you giving this money to the guys in the starting pitching staff? You've got a bunch of talented guys getting $20 million that you don't know if they can pitch. You'd have no idea what they're going to look like at the end of the season.
Yeah, if there's a Hall of Famer, Carl. I mean, it's not like they just. You made it sound like they just got a small upgrade.
No. They paid him. They just committed $300 million to him for ever.
I know.
While they
but
have
guess they
$300
just-
million committed
Yeah.
to another guy who played the same position forever. Now, what I'm
Yeah.
saying is
Yeah.
if they're not, they are better than 19 and 21, and they should be
100%.
at the top of the
Yes.
National League. And I
They will.
think there's an adjustment process to that. And it's good to see that even with these generational players, this game's fucking hard for everybody, and they have to go through that process. It's not
Yep.
just showing up, putting on the spikes, and going out there and being like, "Hey, I'm better than you." Like, you have to put it together. They haven't put it together. So I'm very interested in what the Padres do for the next 6 weeks. How do they close out the first half of the season? Are they going to be limping in at 500? And even so, that's okay. The Cubs finished 2017, a couple games under 500 in the first half. They ended up playing in the NLCS, but for a bad game too, they could have been in a back-to-back World Series. I've seen it for like, now is not the end of the season, but right now is the time the Padres got to get their fucking shit together, because 19 and 21, for the type of players that they have, the expectations, the fan base, the management, everything should be much better.
Yep.
Yep.
I will say, little optimistic sign. Juan Soto this month has been a lot better. 405 batting average, 510 on base, OPS of 1272. Is Juan Soto finally, we getting Nationals Juan Soto again? That's a good sign.
He was one of the pieces there I was never really worried about, just because his batted ball data is always so good that you always think he's about to,
But it was getting to a point where it's like, okay, yeah, he's
It was
gonna,
annoying.
but when is this happening? And now
Yeah.
it kind of is. So it's
Where are we with Machado? He's been pretty atrocious this year. He's on base is 280, 382 slugging. He's
one of
he's a
those-
Hall of Famer himself. I'm not like super worried, but like Carl said, this is the time they got to kind of get it together. Let's go, boys.
He's one of those players who I don't know if this is the case. It seems like he decides when to turn it on and when not. Like, it's like you can tell when he's engaged, because when he is, he's one of the 5 to 10 best players in baseball. He just he's been struggling like crazy, chasing a lot. It just doesn't seem like his strike zone recognition has been very good this year. Ultimately, though, yeah, it's like they are probably the team with the highest ceiling in baseball because of how much high end, top tier talent they have. But it's frustrating to see them, just kind of treading water the way they have.
Do you want to know the numbers on Machado? Let's talk fucking contract numbers here, Klemmer. Last year he made $32 million. Then they signed the extension, ripped it up. So he's only making $17 million this year, next year, in 2025. Then it goes to 25, and then it's back to $39 million. I don't know how much it matters, but is it a 50% contract reduction in the extension he signed? He's getting paid for the next 12 years. We just gave money to these other guys. That can impact, you can have a couple margaritas tonight, you get in the ballpark a little bit later. I don't know if he's that type of guy. I was just looking at his contract to see how long that extension ran through and like what the commitment is, and I was surprised to see that the actual cash he's getting paid is down almost 50% from last year.
Well, I think Machado, let me defend Machado for a second. This is a guy that plays every fucking day.
That's true.
He plays, so he must keep himself in impressive shape to do that. I mean, we're talking about a guy that, I'm just looking right now, even if he plays 150 games every single year. The only year since 2015 that he hasn't was the COVID year, which he didn't miss a game.
No, he played every game. He plays every day.
60.
He plays every day.
Machado must keep himself in tip-top shape to do that. He plays a tough position. I don't know. I think he's going to be just fine, but he is leading the National League, by the way, in double plays as well. So stuff like that, you're like, oh, man. But I don't know. He's Manny Machado. He's a Hall of Famer. He'll figure it out. But get it together soon, buddy. Like, let's go, guys.
Yep. And to be clear, when we talk about the Padres, we're not doubters. We're not doubters. If there's any doubt, it's, are these guys willing to come together and play good team baseball? Like that. Right. That's where my question, when you get all these guys together, what does it look like at the end of the day? As far as the team, the players, the individuals, it's as good as you could ask for a starting lineup. We'd like to see it's better for baseball if they're performing at their best.
It's a good storyline, at least, to follow. Like, hey, will this team get it together? Will this talented group of people get it together? It's a good storyline for the summer.
Yeah.
I had one more thing. I don't know if I want to do it. I really like where we're at with these rankings. We could talk like worst teams in baseball if there's any like surprise stories. So how about this? Let's just sound like this. Is there anything coming up this week? We talk about good stories, narratives. Is there a return? Is there a matchup? Like this is usually the time in the season where, unfortunately, Klemmer, I love. The Pirates are frauds. I had to say that out loud.
Yeah,
but we are officially past the point where you can say it's early. It's.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a quick matchup with my Mets. They face the Rays starting on Tuesday for a 3-game series. I'll be going to the game Tuesday.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, like they've had such a hard time playing the likes of the Reds and the Nationals and
the Tigers.
Like these teams that just aren't very good. And now we're playing the Rays. Like I don't know. I'm officially scared. Like this is when the schedule gets a lot tougher for the Mets because after the Rays they play the Guardians. Not that the Guardians are world beaters this year, but they have significantly more talent than the teams they've been facing. I don't know. It's time for the Mets to start picking it up, and I just have yet to see that light from them. So I'm nervous for this week personally.
Do you think it might be a thing though where they're playing such top competition that their level rises? Like okay, this is a big series. Let's fucking get it together, boys.
I hope so.
Or do they just fold?
At the same token, like every series, when you're 19-20, every series is a big series. Like
yeah, but it's such a different atmosphere when you're playing the fucking Nationals or Reds, and then you play the Tampa Bay Rays the way they're playing. I
hope so. That's kind of what I have this hope. But I mean, they need to show that the only team they've really dominated this year have been the Marlins, who are kind of oddly pesky, but I don't know. We'll see. But the schedule gets tougher now the next 8 weeks. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, if I'm going to – sorry, go.
No, I was just saying there's 2 series this week that I'm paying a lot of attention to. One, we got Yankees Blue Jays starting tomorrow. I believe – is that at Rogers Center? I think it is.
That is at the Rogers Center, and Manoah has the ball tomorrow night.
Just that game alone, I think, is going to be an interesting one to watch because we're seeing teams start to separate themselves more. I mean, I think whoever wins that series – it's got to be feeling pretty good about where they're at. Another big one, too, and I swear this first team's played a relatively tough schedule. The Braves go to Texas to play the Rangers. I think we all like the Rangers. We think the Rangers are a good team. Right now, they are easily the best team in the AL West. If they can come out of that with 2 out of 3 or even like a sweep, I think the idea of them being a team that we talk about as a potential World Series favorite becomes a legitimate thing.
Yep.
Because they kind of like they're beating the shit out of the A's, right? Which okay to be expected. If you start doing real damage against, they've only played Houston in 1 series, but against Houston, against a team like the Braves, against some of the top tier teams in the American League, then you start to hear those whispers about whether or not this could be a team that could really propel themselves to a championship.
Yeah, DeGrom's in 2 weeks or something like that, right? 2 or 3 weeks.
Right, Klemmer?
He's a winner. Yeah.
Bochy. All the guy does is win, right? 4 World Series appearances, 3 rings, and now he's got the Rangers in first place.
Are you older than Bruce Bochy?
I am not older than Bruce Bochy. You fucking the shit.
Last couple of points I want to tighten up here.
You're just being a dick.
About 2 weeks ago, I thought this time Astros would be top 5. They're still not there. Now, obviously, the pitching injuries, so just keep your eye on what's going on with them. Yordan Alvarez. Every time I open my mouth on the criticisms, the strikeout rate goes down, the slugging percentage goes up. 700. He can get there.
700 home runs, Carl.
I see these starts sprinkled in because he is in that part of his career. He still wants to be competitive if he feels good enough to pitch. He doesn't know how to pitch with this stuff yet. And so it'll be interesting to see if he can string a couple good starts together. He just struck out 11, gave up 1. I talked about him early in the season. Yeah, it's tough. That's shitty. And then the last team, the Mariners, I want to see the Mariners here. I want them to go week 5-1. Just give me enough so we can come in here on
lost
Monday
the game, by the way.
Talk about the Mariners because I fucking love J-Rod and they got great starting pitching.
Guys, that team, maybe they just play well against Detroit, which who doesn't. That team can win the World Series. I know what the record they have. They're hovering around 500. That starting staff, and you've lost a Cy Young winner in Robbie Ray. That starting staff is tough, man. And this Bryce Miller kid from A&M.
Sick.
3 starts, 1 run allowed. I mean, that's your number 4 starter, and that means you got Marco Gonzalez as your 5, which is Marco Gonzalez, a good, pitch for contact guy.
Yeah, no, he's had.
I think that offense
starts,
is going to come
alive.
alive.
He's had number of starts where he's given up like 5-6 earned runs. That's not the storyline. For me, it is can he get 5-6 starts in a row? And there's 3 or 4 of these 6 inning, 7 inning, double digit strikeout games. Because fucking dude. I do believe it. I believe in guys figuring it out. Right. I believe that there's guys that can make those tweaks and he doesn't have what he had before, but can he go be an effective pitcher?